Good evening, my lovely friends. I hope there is a very fine, wonderful coverage of the day. My friends, today again myself, Dr. Deepak Singh, with you speaking some discussions and bringing on some work on writings that have been fetched on or written on, and bringing on some discussions about the literature and how the workout has been made on clearance to be understood in a very simple form, or has to be brought to be understood in a very lenient way. My friend, recently, very recently, I've just gone through, made on a unique poetry that is very amusing. That is it is so amusing in formation, and it has been made on in such a amused form. So I would like to discuss this poetry with you all so that you could enjoy in some definite terms or definite modes of understanding. My friend, the poetry, as you all know, that it is in the allpoetry.com, as I set all my poetries and all my writings over there, and from there it is in a different way and different modes. It is get modulated to you all, and you get it in your form of understanding, and you enjoy in different methodology of your work, of your everyday work and research of your every activity on. So even on the way of living in the on the way the continuum of life, I do go on writing. I never stop my writing, and I would be never stopping writing on whatever in the form, though I have got this form of innate skill. That innate skill imbibes me to write, and more I write and more I gain my own aptitude vectors acting in a proper way. Anyway, but better I would like to discuss this poetry that would be very interesting to you all, and you may enjoy it. Now, what is the name of the poetry? The topic. What could be? Let me first discuss you. What's the topic of the poetry? The poetry is the matrix of amygdala. A very unique topic of the poetry, my friend. See, the topic has got so much infusion in acting on the amygdala and matrix. The matrix is completely a word of mathematics where we use rows and columns, exponents, and bring on an abundant multiplicative term in hierarchical form. And even amygdala, what is amygdala? Amygdala is a part of our brain that is in our limbic system that surcharge the emotion, guidation, and bring on the tapping of memories. So, by this topic, you could make it out that how the poem could be, that how the matrix of amygdala work out, means how the exponents in the terms of, now you have gone through matrix. In matrix we know how you used to work out with numbers and bring out in an exponent terms by the method of row and column, bringing on the determinants over there, the square over there, and with that we bring on the numerous, means as we know in product, or as in the case of multiplication is there, but even matrix is beyond multiplication. So in that case it goes to exponent form. So that is in the case with amygdala. Now, amygdala is we have got two amygdala, means pair of amygdala on two sides of our hemisphere, that is on the left hemisphere, and the right hemisphere just has been hooked out just underneath the our just here limbic system there. Just we peel out over there that a hippocampus and hypothalamus region over there, and peel it out, and just you find that it is a small almond shaped amygdala over there that has got a great workout towards our emotional wirings and the emotional bindings that bring on or energize the fresh of our memories, whether it is been long been casted at the past, or whether it had been formulating or programming to be in the future. So everything has or got to be coded out there in amygdala, and obviously this amygdala works too much with the core or the abstract coordinates of the contours. That is called the perception that has got too much in touch with the amygdala, informed by our five senses, that is totally integrated there and bring on our ability of form of existence. So as the matrix of amygdala, the topic was the poetry. As I will not, I will just try to discuss the first four lines, and then you will be enjoying the poetry in most elaborate and most definite manner. So the confluence of the nature that induct the events configuration indices. Now the confluence of nature, that means the confluence of nature means that it's been that it's been twined. That means we get always confluenced with our nature. We are always in assess. We are assessing our the nature. That is the determinants or the decorum of the nature. It's been assessed each and every time by the methods of our awareness. So that the confluence of the nature that induct the event configuration indices. So with that, we totally weave out our event, we configure. The weaving here is represented to be as a weaving, that how we bring on this event, and whatever the event, whatever the vector activity, whatever the workout, whatever the terms, whatever the method, whatever the way we make it out, whatever the substantiate form we make it out, and they always comes in the terms of indices. That means that it comes in form of exponent, that just I discussed according to the topic. It's in matrix, so in the matrix is also an exponent term, and index is also an exponent term. So this event log that comes out in the awareness through the perceptual form of the nature, that energize our brain, energize our weightware totally in confluence activity, working to be the nature nurture, is it to be acting together. Then to suggest the terms and the arbitraries of knowledge, Apple assist. So this second line, as has said, to be that to suggest the terms means what would be the coming process, or what would have to be the coming act to proceed on, or what would be the decision has to be taken on, or what would be the result, or what could be the action to be made on. So that is said to suggest the terms and arbitraries of knowledge, Apple assist. So arbitraries of knowledge with whatever the arbitraries, means whatever the grid perceptional grid sketch, or perceptional abstract sketch grids are totally bonded on, that comes out to be in a form of knowledge that enables to go to the core of our mind, where the Apple assist is to be said or to be understood in the term of the core, means to the deeper part of our mind, to bring on an analysis. Thus it is said or meant to be understood in that form, to suggest of the term and the arbitraries of knowledge, Apple assist. The third line, the hone of subject and the units of metaphysics to fornex. And The horn of subject means what is it? The horn means what we generally know about the horn. That means the sharpening on the subject. Means whatever the subject we suppose anyone is related to some kind of profession, anyone is related to some kind of work, some designated, some time or some type of work he or she is engaged in or getting assisted in, then that terms the horn of the subject and the units of metaphysics. So metaphysics in the form of fornix. Fornix, we have got our own fornix that is totally covered over the temporal lobe of our brain, and we are totally also under the fornix of our cosmos that is totally layered up on our brain, that we have to be understood of in the form of coordinates in terms of aura that we are sketched out or sketched in both way with proper tolerance. So the horn of subjects and the units of metaphysics to fornix, they together come to be in fornix. The layers of fornix are formed on from the mind core, and thus the temporal frequency lobe, the mind matrix inadequate formatting. So the temporal frequency, now we have got the temporal unit, the very inner lobe of our brain, that is the temporal lobe. That we have got a frontal lobe, we have an occipital lobe, we have a parietal lobe. So these all lobes have the sectors of the brain, the sectors of the weight, where we have got a different means they have got a different aptitude form to act on, a different way or the nature of activity they perform on, but they have gotten all, though they are differentiated, but they are all integrated to give out their feedback and feed out from the temporal guidation, and with the temporal frequency acting on through the limbic the brainstem, limbic system and the brainstem, that is working on throughout our cord, that is passing through our vertebra. So the temporal frequencies lobe the mind matrix in adequate formative. As we know that the mind, the very unique form of vortex that once we make out through the reference frame and bring on that reference frame acting on there, enabling the focus locus to be acting on that particular area of our mind, that enable the feeds, that enable the impedance of vectors acting through our whole brain system, acting on through our perceptual gyration, acting, coming in and coming out in the form of waves that could be beta waves or theta waves, and that brings, this is very spontaneous, very spontaneous, and the resultant component, the resultant of those vectors are also very prompt, and the decision making are also very high precise skill. Even a very supercomputer even is means we make supercomputer, we make all the supercomputers itself, so that precision itself we had got in the scale of space and time. So as we make supercomputers all, but the precision, our brain do have got even much more of that in respect or with respect to the space and time, with any kind of computer to be get challenged to our human brain. So that was the first four lines from the matrix of amygdala. The confluence, I will just go through the first four lines just once more. The confluence of the nature that induct the event configuration indices to suggest of the terms and the arbitraries of knowledge apple assist the horn of subject and the units of metaphysics to fornix. So as I described about the fornix, the layers means layers of what words we are feeling outwardly, and what is the layers we have got inside in our brain activity acting on the temporal frequency lobe and the mind matrix in adequate formative. So adequate formative means what the way of measure of activity that has to be formed on, the activity vectors is formed on. Let us discuss the other line also. The influence of the flux that imbibe the core of subjectivity. Now that subjects in the first line, in the previous change as we have gone through, in the fourth line, that it was the matrix of adequate formative of the subject, the honing of the subject, of that honing subject that brings out to be the unique subjectivity. That means a unique waveform, of the frequency that has to be formed on. So the influence of the flux that imbibe the core of subjectivity to connect the commute and demobiles ascent in unique catalyst. Now this is a very, very compact line. The sixth line is a very compact line to be get understood. De Moivre's, we know De Moivre's theorem, that is in a complex number. We have gone through complex number in higher studies. In our high school science studies, the way we have done complex number, there we have De Moivre's, the great scholar, De Moivre's theorem there. So that gives out the conjugate terms of understanding of complex number, that is some imaginary value or imaginary understanding. So that from that mathematical term, the word is extracted to give in a poetic assent over here to make it to be understood. De Moivre's assent in unique catalyst, obviously in catalyst, that means it is enhancing the subjectivity that has been formed down to the whole of the subject, that is enhancing the workout, that is enhancing the formats of work that has to be made on in the matrix through the emotional curvature or emotional architecture, or that has been imbibed to be from the past or to be programmed to be in the future in very latent and catalytic manner. The shown of the space-time and the spatial analysis. So in the space-time, we are totally accustomed or form of in the space-time, that how we on the growing up in the space with our mass and enabling our vector assimilation to bring on the time activity to act on, and bringing on our spatial analysis. We grow mostly with our spatial analysis right from our early, as we grow up. Our spatial analysis integrates exponents, differentiate exponents. This means all mathematical workout goes on in our spatial dilemma or spatial decorum, working on through all the mathematics there in the abstract realm. So by that we grow too beyond of that, though as we generally grow up according to our chronology age, but even our mental acuity, our mental age increases through our spatial analysis. So by this way we could make it out that through the age and mental intelligence has gotten differentiation. That is through the spatial analysis. And thus the last line, as you said, the limbic system with the confluence amygdala preposition, the aerial of thoughts and memory capabilities. Thus as I have discussed earlier about the amygdala is an emotion that brings about past and future. Past, it extracts the past and then it programs to the future and uses the perceptual coordinates working on together with its five senses and just depute it into the temporal gyration, bringing on the temporal frequencies to be acting on. So these thoughts, obviously the thought inertia that put an input over there and output by the resultant of activity, whatever it could be. So the limbic system with confluence amygdala preposition, that means as it is been prepositioned, means that there is a matrix over there. That means there is a preposition, amygdala preposition means confluence, means both the amygdala, the pair of amygdala we have got in our brain, they are acting in a matrix hierarchy. continuously to bring or give out a spatial analysis of thinking source, thinking modes, and bringing it into a modulus, whatever in the past and what could be the program, how we can program it to be in the future, and thus bringing to the modulus form of understanding or in a proper contemplation in an whatever the aerial of thoughts. That means aerial of thoughts very well could be understood as to be the way how the perception is bring out into account to be understood in the proper way and enabling into the process of our mind core, that is an Apple assist, as already been discussed in the poetry, where in the processor is the mind core acton with their impedance of vectors, merge it into in proper form and give out the literature of understanding in proper terms what could be necessary to be acted on. So, and this way the memory has to be spun on, or memory has to be bought, or memory has to be bring into in the form of total coded or encoded, or could be said that memory is means emblazoned in the core of amygdala. This was the poetry, 8 lines poetry, my friend, matrix of amygdala. I think you will be enjoying. So some neuroscience writing, nothing so much amusing and entertaining. It may feel little boring. I can understand that it is nothing so means entertaining in the terms of romance or all those things. But later on I will be discussing romance. But today a little serious, a little boring, though I take it in a form that yes, I'm sorry that it is a little boring about us discussing about the neuroscience. But though we must know about also these all things, and it's a very good knowledge. Matrix of amygdala. I hope you had enjoyed the writings, and you will be enjoying more writings later on. Thank you very much, my lovely friends. Good night.